When it comes to talking about the relationships of the Gilmore Girls characters, there are always going to be faults. Some more than others. And one couple in particular excluded from that statement. My heart yearns for them. I love them. I love them. So I actually put up a poll asking what Gilmore Girls topics you guys would like to talk about. I guess it is just kind of me talking, but at the same time, I want you to reply in the comments maybe. I have genuinely been loving every single comment. I just love hearing everybody's opinions about this show because I genuinely talk about film and TV 24/7, specifically Gilmore Girls, and nobody I know has watched it, which is highly disappointing to my soul. However, I have found all of you. And if you keep seeing white coming up, it's because I've got a blanket on. It's winter in the UK and we are struggling. I've also got my coffee. I didn't use my Luke's mug, which in retrospect is a bad decision. However, we're having a good time. It's fine. We're on a learning curve. But anyway, the people have voted. So without further ado, let's get into the relationships of Gilmore Girls. So it seems fitting that I talk about the most popular relationships as told by my comment section, which would be Rory. Do not worry though, Luke and Lorelai and everybody else is coming. I have many videos that I'm going to be filming in my new office, mainly because I have to actually make use of this office now that I've set it up and built decorations. So I'm gonna kind of go through the teams, if you will, in which order they kind of appear. So some we may have to revisit. Starting off with Dean. So if you're a regular here, you will know that I am not the biggest fan of Dean. However, even with my bias, I can say that I don't think he was the worst first relationship in the world for Rory. It was quite a good one to an extent, specifically talking about the first time, not the second time. I do have sympathy for Dean fans when it comes to the topic of how dumbed down his character was. He went from a guy who could build a car and knew about books and literature. Like, I'm not saying that being able to build a car is the epitome of being smart, but I couldn't build a car. Don't know if any of you can. I feel like if Gilmore Girls writers were given an award for something, tarnishing your favourite character's development could definitely be up there for numerous different occasions. However, that's a topic for another time. I can somewhat understand some of the ways that Dean reacted to certain specific situations. However, I'm not saying that he was great all the time either. But I don't really think any teenagers are. Now, when I say what I'm about to say, please do not think that I am agreeing with Richard Gilmore. However, I do think these two would have held each other back in some regard. I feel like Dean would either try to constantly be living up to the version of himself that Rory wanted him to be, or Rory would have held herself back for his wants and dreams. I just genuinely think it wouldn't have worked in one way or another. And I think that was really clear after the Donna Reed episode. I've watched that episode play out in its entirety one time. I will not be doing it again. So welcome to my little pros and cons list of everything about Dean so far. So pros, he's very hardworking, he is very kind. I also do think that he knows Rory really well. That's proven in the scene where he's talking to Max Medina about what type of ice cream they want and all of their food habits, etc, etc. However, him knowing her so well also kind of leads me on to the cons. I think that he knew her so well because he was so obsessive, which isn't the worst thing in the world to some people. Dean could understand that Rory was slipping away, and I think he held on to her closer because he didn't want to accept that and he didn't want to let go. I do also think that he is very hot-headed as a person, and I don't think that suits Rory. Essentially, my roundup would be that he wasn't the best, but he also was not the worst. Moving on, we do have to talk about Tristan. I don't really have many opinions about Tristan, however, a lot of people in my comments seem to. I felt like Tristan could have developed into a really nice character maybe, but he didn't really give me anything but a headache. I hated how mean he was to Rory. I understand that it's the whole like, oh, they tease you because they like you, understand it. I don't find that attractive. Like, it's okay if you do, it's okay, because a lot of people do. The minute somebody insults me, I'm like, oh, I don't find you attractive anymore. So pros and cons of Tristan. I understand that he is very cute. It's Chad Michael Murray at the end of the day. Who wouldn't find him attractive? However, his personality just isn't it for me. I do feel sorry for him. He's just not somebody I would kind of go towards. But from an unbiased perspective, I can understand why people find it attractive and charming. And like, some people do like the teasing. Like, I guess it's just my personal opinion that's kind of coming into this. Also, I do think there's a lot to be said when talking about the boyfriends and you realise There's a lot of different dynamics that actually come from their parents, which leads me on to Jess. I do really have a soft spot in some regard to Jess. I'm personally not a member of any of the teams, just because I kind of feel like everybody needs a bit of therapy. Just to clarify, when I'm saying that I think everybody needs therapy, I do not mean you guys. I mean the people in the show. With Jess and the way he was raised, I completely understand why he was so standoffish and had this guard around him. I'm hopefully like anybody kind of can. My favourite thing about Jess is that he got her on a way that I don't think many of the other boyfriends did. I know a lot of people think Jess treated Rory like she was perfect, but I don't think he did. I feel like he held her accountable, especially with the
"Why did you drop out of Yale?"
It's complicated.
It's not complicated.
scene. I do think that Jess was the first person that Rory was in love with. I know that she said she was in love with Dean, but I'm not sure if she truly understood what love was. Like, I don't think she had that pull to Dean like she did to Jess. I think Jess, you know, anybody that's been in love that is watching this video, I feel like you will know how consuming it is. Do become a bit dumb in some situations, especially as a teenager, and I feel like she was that with Jess, like missing Lorelai's graduation. And I think that aspects of his personality, like the intellect, the charm, his whole demeanor and like sense of humor, I think that was perfect for Rory, and I can understand why she was attracted to it. I think if I had watched this show as a teenager, I would be hardcore Teen Jess. I wouldn't have moved on from Jess that entire time. And this isn't to say that Jess didn't annoy me. I think if Jess hadn't gone on that journey, they also wouldn't have worked out in the long run. Jess did abandon Rory. He is very avoidant. I do think Rory was making him better, but I don't think he was making Rory any better at that time. And I can get his kind of thought process of like, oh, I'm not good enough for her, I'm gonna take myself out of this situation and run away from it. I forgot to mention how those two even got together. That wasn't great either. I think Jess saw what he wanted and immediately ran to go get it. So I could definitely talk about Rory and Jess for hours, so I'm gonna limit myself and not be too much, because otherwise this will be a 5-hour long video and I'm gonna do the pros and cons list. The pros of Jess, I do think that they were truly in love with each other. I just think Jess wasn't able to show that. I think they matched on an intellectual level. I think they understood each other's humor, and they understood each other on a level that maybe other people wouldn't be able to understand Rory on. And then the cons of this era of Jess was just that, like, he was just a mess. I think he needed to take that time to really sort himself out, and obviously it paid off in the long run, but at this point in the show we do not know that. Anyway, back to Dean. There isn't much to say about Dean in this era. I have so many thoughts and none of them are good. I will say I love how Lorelai actually told Rory off for this scene. I understand that a lot of people think Lorelai was out of order for actually yelling at her, but I support it. I feel like Rory needed to be told that that was not her Dean, and Dean needed to listen to Lorelai yelling to understand how bad he messed up. And I still do not understand that they didn't get more hate for that situation, especially from Lindsay. The parallels between that Donna Reed episode and then Lindsay cooking a meal for him and then him shouting at her, I can't deal with it. It makes me so angry. I could have included Marty in this, but it didn't really go anywhere. I understand that some people include Marty in this, and I did have high hopes for Marty, but then character downfall happened again. So anyway, moving on to Logan. Logan I have a very love-hate relationship with. There are parts of him that I absolutely despise, and there are parts of him that I absolutely adore. So he is very much my Marmite. The first introduction of him being quite flirty and suave and charming, love that. And then it got onto how him and his friends treat Marty and the other waiting staff, and I understand that's how he's grown up, but he had a lot to work on for me to like him, so he did well because he got out of that. Logan I do feel like is a good match for Rory. I don't think Logan ever put Rory on a pedestal. I think he was trying to challenge her, challenge the way she's grown up, and really make her her own person, aside from the person that Lorelai wanted her to be and her grandparents wanted her to be. And him dating her really brought her into that world that Lorelai fought so hard to keep her away from. The You Jump, I Jump Jack is one of my favourite episodes ever. Somebody finally took Rory out of that academic sense of success and made her experience something that was entirely herself. Like I've said for the other guys, I do think he bettered her in some circumstances. Although I have just complimented Jess for the fact that he did the whole, why did you drop out of Yale? I kind of, in a way, like that Logan didn't try to force her back into Yale. He kind of let her make her own decision. I personally want somebody that's like, yo, what are you doing? Like, if I'm being stupid. But I can understand why Logan didn't do that. It's nice in a way that Rory got to see exactly, to a point, what her mum was trying to keep her from. And although everything happened with his parents, I think Logan really showed Rory, whether she took it in or not, I think he really showed her that growing up in this lifestyle where you have those connections gets you better opportunities and can really help solve a lot of problems. I think he really opened up her world, and that's the way I would always describe Logan. I don't really know how I feel about the whole theory where it's like Logan parallels Christopher and Luke parallels Jess for Rory and Lorelai. I will probably talk about that at another point when I've had time to kind of think about it more, because yeah, I've had all of this time to think about it, but when you're kind of talking off the top of your heads, a lot of stuff gets missed out. So if I have missed a lot in this video, I'm very apologetic of that. I do think in a lot of cases Logan was able to give her the respect that she deserved. When he messed up, he would apologise, and that took a lot from him because he hasn't been raised in a family where apologising is a big thing. So moving on to the pros and cons list of Logan. So with the pro side, I feel like I really explained it in the past clips, but I think he showed her the life that she had kind of been held from. I feel like Logan always gave Rory a reality check and also helped her to explore different parts of her personality and grow as a person in a way that she maybe wouldn't have if she hadn't met him. Okay, so the cons list, this might be a really unpopular opinion, but I do not like the proposal. I'm glad she said no in a way. I know that a lot of people disagree with that decision because she just ended up with him in a year in the life anyway, but it wasn't for me. And then the other con would just kind of be the way he was so immature at certain points, but he was growing, he was learning. I have to give him a bit of lenience with that. I think that all of these boyfriends came into her life at a perfect time to make her the person that she is. And I understand that we're not necessarily like obsessed with the person that she becomes. However, she's human. Like, she has so much growth to do. And I think just at the end of series 7, I liked Rory. She learned so much from these relationships. I'm glad she dated all 3 of them because I think she needed it. I think we can all kind of relate where not all of our relationships were perfect, but they had some perfect moments. And I can sympathise with each team. Dean less so, okay? I just think that talking more about the show and getting different opinions and things is actually one of the best things that could ever have happened to me. It's really, really nice and so comforting, and I can't wait to make more of this content. So thank you so much for watching and entertaining me and like talking to me and all of this stuff. I am so thankful. So thank you guys. I hope you have a lovely rest of your day, evening, morning, whatever it is you're doing. Yeah, love you all.